Hi, this is just a quick video that might be interesting to somebody of what to do with an old barbecue. Yeah, I had an old barbecue and I didn't know what to do with it, and I kind of like metal, and I had bought myself a welder, one of those $100 welders on eBay and Amazon. And it works pretty good with the welder. I didn't want to do a review of that because they seem like 1,000 reviews everywhere. But what I did do is I'm going to show you what I made, and that's this right here. I'll show you exactly what I made it out of and how I did it. This is it right here. You can see. This is it was basically just a barbecue I had for about 4 years, and the gas pipes got rusty and they broke apart, so basically the barbecue is worthless. So what I did is I put an axle on it and some wheels. But first I actually, let me go around here. If you look, I get the light pretty good, but here you see pieces like this here, and like in here, that brace and that brace, this brace right here, this brace right here, and a few other spots were all welded because inherently the barbecue is a sheet metal, and what holds them together is the top of the barbecue with screws on it. So once you take the top off, it's pretty weak. So yeah, I had to weld every corner back together, and I added some metal like that, like this piece right here. My welds are not great because I never really welded. I bought a welder, I did some practice welds, so this is actually like the first thing I actually ever did with a welder. These wheels right here were about $3 a piece at Home Depot. These right here, maybe they were $4. Those are old wheelbarrow wheels. I had 2 of them. And I happened to have an axle that came. Actually, I think it came from a cart, but they're the same wheels they use on wheelbarrows, and those are good wheels. Because I use my yard as rough terrain, so you can't use just these wheels right here. You need a big wheel to go over rough ground, and that's why I have this right here, because I could lift the cart over anything. I also made this out of. The only thing that I bought to make this was those front wheels, because I had the axle on the old wheels, and some galvanized steel. Now you can be careful when you weld this stuff because it throws out some gas, but I was doing it outside, so it wasn't much of an issue. Like I said, my welds aren't that great looking. I don't know if you can see here, but it's actually pretty strong. I mean, I could probably, hold my weight on that. It's just bolted, to this, and I had touched up the welding, so it's really solid. I just put a piece of sheet metal there, so if I do a small weld on top like that, I can do it there. And I put in a shelf out of wood right here to hold all the extras. Vaseline works pretty good for your tip. And down here is the welder. That's a Zenny welder. Yeah, he said it's not bad for, mine cost like $80. And top is wood. And the other interesting feature is, of course, there's another brace right here I welded. And I added a heavy-duty power strip, so I could just plug in the welder. And I added a little hook to hold everything there. And the other thing is, you'll see these 2 nuts right here. And what these are for is these actually pull up, right? I'll show you right here. This one might fall. It might fall down, but they pull up like that. One here, one there, and the reason is because I can also use this cart for a table saw that I don't have the base for. So I could just stick it up here, stick on the bolts, tighten them down, and I'm ready to saw. So it's multi-purpose. And like I said, this whole project cost me. The wood I had this here. I didn't have to pay for it. It was all scrap wood, not big pieces. So I'm sure you could do the same. And the metal was scrap. The barbecue was scrap. I've seen more scrap barbecues, then let me give it another good shot of it here. Let's see. There it is right there. If you want to get an idea, because it's a little tight in here. But I'll give you an idea what it looks like. I don't know if that helps or not. It might not look actually quite right, but if you could see there. So essentially it's a barbecue with the top removed and made into a cot. Hang on one second. I'm not saying this is the greatest project on earth, but I think for what I spent, you could do worse. I spent about, like I said, about $8 there for the wheels. I spent about $4 here, so that's about $12. And now, granted, I do have a lot of extra hardware that I had. Everything else I had was an old handle, screws, bolts, things like that, an old power strip. I mean, so this whole thing essentially cost me less than $15 to make. But and if you could do the same, you could scrap your wood. You find yourself some scrap wood and some scrap metal, you know. But if you had to buy a few of the things, you still could make this easily for like, I think, you know, if you've only scrapped a few things, you could make it for $60, you know, or under $60. And what they get for a cheap Chinese cart, you know, I think this is way better than any of those, Harbor Freight carts that look like they're made out of paper mache. This thing's actually pretty heavy duty, you know. I mean, I don't know if I can do with that with that hand, but this bar is solid, everything's solid. So he said, you know, if you got a lot of scrap around, you can make yourself a welding cart for next to nothing. And that's what I did. So, thanks for watching.